I've been fortunate enough to work with over 1,000 different suppliers. Now here are the top 5 mistakes I see sellers making when sourcing products from China. Number 1 is that sellers tend to outgrow their supplier in terms of quantity, quality, and price. And what I mean by that is that when you first find your product supplier online, you might have just gone from a very small factory you found on Alibaba.com. Maybe you weren't too familiar how to find the best factory. And when you started off, you had a really low minimum order quantity, maybe like 300 units or 500 units, because you were just testing the product. After time, you've grown and scaled your business, and now your order volume is like 2,000 units per month. But only the really small manufacturers were willing to entertain your order from the beginning. But now you've actually outgrown your supplier, meaning that there are bigger and better factories out there with better quality and better price and better payment terms for you to take advantage of. Because everything's been so comfortable for your supplier, and you just place a purchase order, you place a deposit, you get the goods, and everything's been rolling smooth and fine, you haven't actually had the need to go and find a better manufacturer. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should just go ahead and switch the supplier just to get a slightly cheaper price, but you should be aware that if there are better and bigger suppliers out there for you, then you should definitely be checking that to see, are you actually getting the best price? Because quite often suppliers, as a result of your quantities going up, your prices should come down because of your economies of scale, but sometimes your supplier might not pass on that saving to you. So the best way to do this is have a specification sheet for your product. This is just a one-page PDF you can create with the images, the dimensions, the specification, and all the details of your actual product. Now you can go and find your next top 3 suppliers through whatever means and send that specification sheet out to your potential suppliers and say, hey, my order volumes are 15,000 units over the course of the year, 4,000 units a quarter, whatever it may be, and then ask them what would be the best price for this particular product. Now you've given them all the information, the dimensions, the Pantone colors, what type of packaging you have, what type of testing you need on your product, so they can now just go and give you an accurate price. You might even have to send a sample to them to get a very accurate price. And all you want to do is compare that. And even if you don't want to switch supplier, let's say you're paying $10 for your cost of goods. So you can say, I've had other suppliers contact me and they're actually offering me $8.90 or $9.20 or $9.15. Are you able to match the price? So I'm giving them the first chance to match the price rather than just switching, because when you switch suppliers, there's a teething process that you have to go through to essentially get that supplier to fit with you. So number 1, make sure you haven't outgrown your supplier, and if you have, then you want to be making sure you're getting the benefits of the best suppliers and the best prices and the best quality. Mistake number 2, and this is probably the most costly, which is not getting pre-shipment inspections done on your order. Now, pre-shipment inspection is so easy to organize and manage. There's so many different companies that do it, and I can list them down in the description of the video down below. But essentially, when your goods are finished production, you want to get a pre-shipment inspection report. So a third party will go in, and if you've ordered 2,000 units, so verify 2,000 units are there with your brand logo on it, that the goods have been made. And then after that, they're going to check what they call the AQL level, the accepted quality level, to make sure that the quality standards of that production is absolutely fine and fit for purpose. And they put it into 3 different categories. So you've got minor, major, and critical defects. So depending on what the product is how many they're going to check. And then based on how many they check, they're going to give you a report to be like, these were the defects that we found. You get the report, there might not be that many defects, and great, you can ship your products. Or they might say, hey, we found loads of dust marks, loads of scratch marks, the boxes were damaged, whatever it may be. But it's much better that you identify what those problems are at the source, at the factory, and then have corrective action with the factory, rather than you shipping the products to the US or to Europe or to UK and then realizing, oh no, my goods have got these problems, and now you actually have to pay for local labor, which is much more expensive, whereas a factory would have covered that cost. So a pre-shipment inspection report, and it's only going to cost you about $200, is so important before you ship your goods. Now, mistake number 3 is not getting product testing done. And what I mean by that, depending on what type of category of product that you're doing, there's going to be legal requirements which you have to test your product for, and there might just be industry standards that you have to test your product for. So if you're doing an electronic product, let's just say like a power bank, there will be legal compliance that you have to pass. For example, that the charger doesn't overheat when it is plugged in for over 12 hours, or the lithium battery isn't an issue on an airplane, something like that. Now, if you're doing a backpack, for example, there's no legal requirements you need to sell a backpack, but you might want to test for like how strong is the fabric, how waterproof is the fabric, do the zips work 10,000 times before they break? And these tests aren't even expensive. They can range between like $60 to $5,000 depending on what you're testing for, maybe flammability, something like that. But I have to let the supplier know what testing I need before I actually place the order, because there's no point placing the order and then after the order say, oh, by the way, I need that testing. And they'll say, oh, well, we didn't actually manufacture the products with that test in mind, so we haven't complied with that. So research what testing you need and then ask your manufacturer to comply. But if you don't know what testing you need, you can reach out to these third-party companies, which I'll write in the description down below. You can also go into a retailer like a Target or a Walmart, and then you can pick up those products off the shelf and then read the packaging, read the inserts, read the labels, and it will say what testing they have. And also when you're reaching out to multiple factories online, you can ask them what testing do they have and what testing they've done for other customers as well. Now, mistake number 4 is not understanding the correct payment terms. Normally, when you place an order to a factory, you want to be placing a 30% deposit, and that's after you've confirmed a pre-production sample. So you get your first sample, you might want to make some changes to it. It might be the wrong color, it might be the wrong size, you might want to add some new features, whatever. And then once you have a sample in your hand that you're like, right, I'm fully happy with this product, I now want you to manufacture this for me. That's like your gold seal sample, your pre-production sample. Then I want to place my 30% deposit. Then they go and manufacture and make the goods, and then once the goods are complete, they'll let you know. And then as we talked before, you get a pre-shipment inspection done. And once you're happy with the inspection report and they've sent the goods to your freight forwarder, meaning the goods are out of the factory's hands, they're in a container, that container is sealed, you've seen those shipping documents, then you pay that remaining 70% balance. I see a lot of beginners, they talk to factories on Alibaba.com or other means, and the factory asks them for a 50% deposit, and they'll do this 50% deposit without even confirming a sample, but then the sample isn't correct. They want to make changes and they say, oh, if you want that, then the product cost is going to be X, it's going to be higher, it's going to be 12% higher. And you're like, that's not within my margins. So you want to confirm a pre-production sample that you're happy with, then pay a 30% deposit maximum, never pay more than 30%, and then pay the remaining 70% balance once the goods have actually left the factory's hands, and you have that inspection report as well. Now, mistake number 5 is not fully understanding the HTS codes which you need to import your products with, and also your shipping costs as well. So HTS code is just your harmonized tariff schedule, which is basically the import duty code, the import duty which you need to be paying on your particular product. So depending on what your product is, you might be paying 5% import duty, 20%, 40%, but it's very, very important for you to understand, because you might see a product from a factory in China and the product purchase price is $10, but then, hey, people are selling it for 45, great, that's a nice profit margin. But what you didn't anticipate was that the import duty code was 40%, and now you have an additional 40% on your cost of goods, which greatly affects your margin. So definitely check the HTS code website, which I'll link down below. And I also want to confirm that with my freight forwarder and ask the forwarder, hey, I'm importing these power banks or these backpacks from China to the US. This is the HTS code that I have. Can you double confirm that this is correct? So they have a custom specialist in their company, and they might tell you, yep, that's a correct code, or you're actually using a code which is 12.7%, but if you use this one, you can pay 8% and save 4.7%. So definitely check with your freight forwarder as well. And then with your shipping costs, make sure whatever quote you get from your freight forwarder, ask them, is this my all-in cost? Because sometimes your freight forwarder might say, yeah, a container from Shanghai to LA is going to be $6,500. You're like, all right, cool. And then once it arrives, then they're also going to charge you for like port clearance and trucks and railing and all sorts of different types of things, security clearance. So I know that, hey, these products that I import from China to the US, this was my exact to the cent cost. But it's very important that you understand the product cost, the HTS code, which will give you your customs duty, and then your shipping cost as well. Hey guys, if you are getting value from this video, make sure you smash that like button and hit the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on the latest videos from Founder.
Hey Founder fam, did you love this video? Well, if you did, you can join us right now and attend a free training session with today's Founder, where we'll go even more in depth. Click here and we'll see you soon.